Hi guys, Jessica Henry here. Happy to be here. I have had a long and crazy summer, but the kids are back in school, so I'm really happy to be back on and going to definitely be a lot more consistent now that life is kind of taking on a normal tone. So I am celebrating today. I have reached 10,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. That is a huge deal. So very honored and very grateful that you guys have hit that subscribe button and hit the bell to be notified. You guys are awesome. So thank you so much. So what I'm going to do to show my appreciation, I have a still life set up here. All you have to do is comment. You can even just write your name. Just say something down below and I will know that you are interested. This is a free painting I'm going to do today. Hi guys, good to see you. So comment below and I will enter your name in 2 weeks. That gives the painting time to dry and other people time to watch the video. In 2 weeks, I'm going to have all your names on little pieces of paper and go live and draw a winner. So let's hope it turns out. Anyway, so I'm gonna get going on this. Just a lot of exciting things happening. So I'm gonna be chatty while I'm painting and we'll get going on this. So, all right, yeah, thanks guys. It's you guys. You guys who did it. All right, so I'm going to show you, since this is live, I can't show you very many times the still life. So I'm going to try to set this up so that you guys can kind of see it while I'm painting. So I have the camera kind of close. I won't be able to see your comments while I'm painting, but I'll get to them afterwards. So if you are just joining, comment down below, and I'm going to comment. Thank you, David. Good comment. Yeah, so you can even just write your name. Just whatever you want to do, comment down below and you are entered to win this painting. So, and I'll be saying that throughout the video because I know a lot of people come and go. Okay, so here we go. Let's get going. I have my palette here sitting on my lap. I actually make these and sell them. Oops, my linseed oil is dripping. Because I'm going to talk about my supplies here real quick while I just keep that from dumping out. Okay, so this is my palette. It is balanced on the back so I can hold it for long periods of time. Pretty lightweight too. Colors. Until the video is posted. Okay, well, not during the live show. Actually, on my computer, that's a good point. On my computer, I can see the comments and I can only see them for a little while. So I will write down names, but when the video is posted, then I will be able to see all of the comments and they stay up. So right after this video, I'm going to go over to my computer and pull it up, and on the side, it shows me all the comments. So I'll be able to write your names down. All right, so anyway, here we go. Palette. These are the colors I'm going to use today. I have titanium white, and these are all by Gamblin, except for this one. This is Cad Yellow Pale. Gamblin doesn't make a Cad Yellow Pale, but Winsor Newton does. I'm maybe using the Cad Red. I had that up from my last video. Yellow Ochre, Burnt Sienna, and Ultramarine Blue. I may or may not use the Phthalo Green, but I had it on my palette. And then also Alizarin Crimson. Okay, so I'm going to show you, I'm going to turn the canvas, actually, wait. I'm going to show you the rest of this setup over here. So I'm going to put my little palette cup back on my palette. So this is my canvas. I'm just going to use a 9x12, and I have put a thin coat of just thinned down Burnt Sienna Ultramarine Blue. I rubbed it on, and then I just wiped it off with the paper towel. So I rubbed it on darker than I needed, and then I wiped a bit off, and then I kind of went like this to give it a little bit of texture. Okay, so I'm going to use my paper towels, and I put it on the stuff on with a great big brush. And then I have over here my Gamsol in a little bucket. I have a little hook on the front of my easel. You can kind of see that right there. And all that I have in my little cups here on my palette is linseed oil. Okay, that's all I'm going to use for a medium. I prefer to use just linseed oil because it is simply what's in my paints. And so I like to keep all my ingredients as close to the natural thing as possible. Do you use the same palette for still life and plein air painting? Good question, Rory. I will occasionally take this out and plein air paint. It really just depends on the situations and the circumstance. A lot of times I do like this when painting plein air because it's a bigger mixing area, but my plein air palette is so convenient for filming. When I am doing the plein air painting, my palette goes like this. So this is the palette part, and this is where I put my canvas, so I can set my camera up and you can see everything really easily. But with with doing anything else, it's really difficult. I also like to have my values really close to where I'm painting. So in plein air, it's really convenient that way. So, yep, happy to be back in the studio and get to work on this. I had a long, busy summer, and we made 7 videos for our brand new series, and oh, I'm sorry, colors. I'll talk about my video series in a sec. Yes, the palette for the colors. Yes, these are the same ones I used for plein air painting. I keep it really streamlined and really simple. I just prefer a few colors to take with me. I might throw in a few occasional colors in my plein air backpack if I know I'm going to be painting some flowers that, you know, like you can't mix magenta or just some more exotic, even cad yellow or cad red light. That's a really difficult color to mix with this palette. So I might throw a few extras in there, but yep, typically this is it. Okay, so, oh, video series. I'm going to talk about that while I get going on some of this stuff here. So we have a new video series we worked on. We went to Colorado this summer. I say we, the Renaissance Creative Arts. Daniel Hilriedel and I went to Colorado and we filmed 7 videos. We're calling the video series From Mesas to Mountaintops. And it's stunning, stunning, stunning. Beautiful scenery, mountains and canyons of the ancients and Mesa Verde and all that. So I'm going to move this so that you can see. There's my little still life. Of course, it's getting a strong glare from the spotlight, but in real life, I don't see that bright, blinding glare. So I've got this little stack of books, and from my angle here, it's going to be a little bit different than your angle there, but I've got this old shell, and then I've got my little mouse. Yeah, it's a bronze mouse with the little flowers. And then I wanted to throw in a little marble because I've got this quiet, somber, serious sort of these antique books and the shell. It's kind of this timeless quality. And then I have some fun whimsy. And what I love about still lifes is the temporal feeling of life. So you've got the flowers contrasted with the shell. And I think that that's a really cool effect with that way. All right, so hi Chris, good to see you guys out there. All right, so I'm going to jump in. Now again, I mentioned at the beginning, I'm going to say it throughout the video. If you're just joining, comment if you haven't already commented, and you will be entered to win this plein air video, or this still life video painting, this demo I'm doing. So I'm very excited. Yes, thank you. Thanks, guys. Good to see you. Okay, so now to get started on this, I'm actually going to use a little bit smaller brush. What I'm going to do first is just draw in the still life with a very thin mixture of sienna and ultramarine blue with a little bit of the Gamsol thinner. Okay, so I am just taking some of the thinner and I'm going to hold the palette like this, and as I do more mixing I'll lift the palette up so you can see it a little better. Maybe I can even move this a little bit closer because we're kind of far away there. And it's a fairly small objects in the still life, so you should do a video on still life setup. Yeah, I've actually done one quite a while ago, but it's, you know, like I said, it's been a while ago. I should do another one. It's a really good informative thing because what I have here in my wall, in my studio, I have, this is black felt that I have just thumbtacked to the wall. And I've got just a shelf here with some books on it and a board, and then my still life set on that with a spotlight right on it. And I adjust the spotlight. The closer you get the spotlight to your objects, the more dramatic your still life lighting. The further away you get the light from your source here, the softer the lighting effects. And I like strong shadows, so I kind of like that drama. But I'm going to see if maybe I want to turn this a little bit. You can always fiddle around with things too. Yeah, I like how that's leading in better. And I'll show you real quick what I just did. See how you can kind of see there's a little bit of that transparent effect from the light traveling through the shell there. And I think it has a stronger lead in from the corner of the shell up to there. You can kind of see that. Okay, so that is what I just did there. I'm trying to make it so that you can see the still life and the painting while I'm working. And then, yeah, I would like to talk more about what's involved in actually setting up a still life and what to look for a balanced composition, because that is an entire video in and of itself. and definitely something that requires the time involved. Okay, so let's get going. So the first thing I do when I do a still life is I take into account these 4 edges. That is my first rule of composition. Where is this going to fit inside this? How much negative space, top, bottom, where is it all going to fit into this? And I do like to give my still lifes room to breathe and air to circulate around the objects. So I think about where would be an attractive headspace if I make the tallest part of my design over there. Where's that going to come? Maybe about there. The edge of the books, I don't really want them too far over to the edge of this. You don't want to just start drawing in the things, because what can happen is things get away from you, and before you know it, it's too big. So give yourself boundaries first. If you don't want the shell, you know, or your furthest object too close to the edge, give yourself that, you know, that's where it's going to go, kind of thing. The books, the book pile is going to go here. I don't think the bottom part of the book should be any closer to the edge of the canvas, maybe there, maybe about there. So now I know I'm going to have to work somewhere within this spectrum here to do my object. That gives me kind of a nice breathing room over here and back here for some space. Okay, so now that being the case, I may have to adjust the size and tweak the different things on my still life. Maybe I'll pull the shell in or make the books a little bit smaller or whatever. But since this is what is eternal, so to speak, not that, I need to make this the beautiful thing. So that's what I'm going to work on. We're going to hope for the best. All right, so I'm going to start with kind of just mapping in. If I put the books here, one spine here, about like that. I angled them a little bit so that they'd be interesting. So this book goes back this way. And I'm looking at the negative space under the book. When you're doing books, just check the different angles. Put a straight edge right on the corner of an object, and then see where that angle matches, or like where it goes against the straight edge. You can kind of gauge. I mean, that's about a 30-degree angle. So if my straight edge is here, and I'm gauging the angle of that book, that helps me get that perspective sort of ballpark in place. So there's that first book. And then this one on top is a little bit more horizontal. Like that. Not entirely, but that's why I gave myself this horizontal line, because I know that I need to compare it. So that goes like that. All right, so obviously you don't want to get too fussy with it until you have a general understanding of where your things are going to go. So this is a little bronze mouse. I found him at an antique store on a little shelf, and he's carrying this little backpack on his back, and it's just so gosh darn cute. And I love this thing. It just made me laugh, so I had to, of course, own it for still lifes. I love treasure hunting in antique stores for still life props. I think that you can find so many treasures. I know I'm going a little bit higher than I thought, but that's okay. So this little flower up here is kind of acting like an umbrella for our little mouse, and I think that's cute. So there's about his face. And I'm looking at this negative shape back in here when I'm drawing his chin, neck, belly, foot, and then he's got this bronze tail. It helps the little statue to stand. So that comes around. And then I've got a marble in here. While I am painting this, and you guys are doing your commenting, because remember, if you comment, you're entered to win this painting as my gratitude for 10,000 subscribers. I have a question for you. I was wondering if you guys would be interested in, or if you are aware of or know about ASMR, which is Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. And what that is I'm thinking about doing another channel on YouTube for ASMR. And it's that feeling you get when you get those little tinglies, when you hear certain sounds, like maybe a keyboard or a hairbrush, or those just little sounds that kind of make your scalp tingle. And YouTube is full of people who've been doing ASMR for years. And I will plug in an ASMR channel and fall asleep to it. And I thought it might be kind of fun to do a painting ASMR channel. And if you guys would be interested, you can respond to that in your comments down below. Let me know what you think, because I think it'd be kind of fun, actually. And so, thinking of that, these are ideas. So there's my little basket, like that. Okay, so the little flowers got its center there. And then the back of the book, I'm looking at just the negative shape created by this edge of this book. I'm just kind of massing in this as a value. I never draw on my images with the pencil because it's easier for me just to do a little bit of massing. There it is. Instead of with the pencil and erasing and all that. So it gets my mind already thinking about the painting process. And of course, time efficiency and all that is always a factor in what we're doing. So in painting books, watch your parallels. Yes, ASMR. Okay, I can put on my sleepy voice. I've been told that I put people to sleep with my painting videos, which is hysterical. It's not my intention, but it seems to happen. But I think it's just kind of that response we get. You know who's the godfather of all ASMR is our beloved Bob Ross. And sometimes they have a Bob Ross ASMR channel, and I'll just put in a peaceful, happy little painting and listen to him as I fall asleep. And maybe that's it. I'm learning Bob Ross speak by osmosis. So there you go. So I'm just trying to get this a little bit more in line with each other. Again, cognizant of those parallels. And if these two go like, this is not right. Books are about as fun to do on a live video as portraits. Because, oh man, in about a second you can get the perspective all wrong, and then it's, oh, isn't that cute? It's a disaster. But, so I'll just clean it up. That's okay. That, and then I think that is, I have to get back, and I really can't do that when I'm kind of locked in and surrounded by lights and cameras and stuff, so I'm just going to squint at it to try to see it in its perspective. And there we go. And then this one underneath, we see about that much of it, and it goes back. And then I've got this big shell in here. So if you're just tuning in, I was explaining, oh, see, I went too far. I'm going to make this shell smaller than what I see over there. I was explaining that in setting up a still life, it's good to be thinking about contrasts. And that was sort of one of the things I was thinking about when I set this still life up, is the contrast between this elegant, timeless, graceful seashell and then the whimsical little mouse and the timelessness of the books in contrast to the immediacy of the flowers. You know, they're gonna die and wither away, but words are forever. And so I love those parallels that you can play with in painting. So I'm thinking about those things when I set up a still life. And then I think about the balance of the objects themselves. We have red and green. There's a red and green book, and then we have different, I have a glass marble with the texture of the old books, the soft petals of the flowers with the brass. So I have these different textural components. I'm going to lose this edge to the background. And I also have these, you know, this hard, crusty shell with the softness of, again, the petals of the flowers. So I'm kind of thinking about all this stuff in here too. And now this painting, even if I don't finish it in the time constraints of this video, I will finish it, and anxiously we'll wait to send it to a new home in 2 weeks. If you're just joining, you could win this painting. No purchase necessary. So just comment your name down below, or you could even just leave a regular comment, and I'll write down your name and get you in the drawing. So you have 2 weeks to enter. Just write a name or comment or whatever. Okay, so over here, these two books almost blend together, so I'm going to kind of let those do that a little bit. This book is bigger than what I have it down. So you can see, too, how I'm working this. I'm just massing these in like that, and letting them have their sort of their sense of space in here. Okay, and then the flowers will go up in there, and then that's background. And there's my shell. Let's kind of fix that shape a little bit more. It goes like that. Okay, so now, just taking this brush, I think actually I'm going to get a bigger one, and I want to start laying down the background. I like a bristle when I really need to move the paint around. So I'm just going to use that. It's not strong enough. You need a good strong bristle to really move that. Okay, so this is a nice strong bristle. Okay, so I'm going to just start with the darks of the background, grabbing some ultramarine blue. I think you can kind of still see my palette. And burnt sienna. What I'm going to do is, I think that you've seen that for a little while. I'm going to move a little bit closer since I'm starting to get into the actual painting of this. A little bit more. Sorry about jostling your world there for a sec. Okay, and as I get into more of the mixing the colors, I'll pull my palette up. For now, I am no longer going to be using Gamsol. I'm using a little bit of linseed oil mixed with my paints. Okay, so now the light is coming in this way, so I do not want my darkest darks back here, except as shadows where they're supportive. So I'm going to start just laying in a dark value over here. And this will really make these flowers just glow with this strong dark background. Just going to work that into the canvas. That's exciting. Hold on. The sky is falling. I'm gonna make sure that we don't have a catastrophe here. Tighten that bolt. There we go. Got it. Okay. You never know what you're gonna get on live videos. Okay. I'm going to let some of this be a little bit lighter. So for now, this is just the same strong dark value. Ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, a little bit of linseed oil, mixing that in there. And let's just bring this right over. So I'm not painting what needs to be a really light value, because there's no point in making that more difficult for me by painting it all dark. So leaving that gap there for the flower. And this one as well. I'll come over that later. I think as I work my way around and I get to this side over here, the light is shining through the still life this way. So this is going to be lighter than what's over here. So I don't know how much of it you're going to actually be able to pick up from the video here, but as I go down this page, or this side over here, I'm just lightening my brush strokes. I'm making it a little bit less strong and dark right there, because I really want that look and illusion. I'll even lighten that a little bit more before I'm done with this painting. But the value on the top of these books is very similar to the background, so I'm going to kind of lose some of those to the background. Okay, so there we go. Gonna get this nice and dark over here, ultramarine blue. If you use more blue than brown, it'll take on a blacker tone. And so that's what I'm gonna do right back here behind the books. I'm thinking that that's a little bit too brown, so I'm adding a little more black to that. Just gonna kind of let that fade back up into that a little bit. Now I can work on the shape of these books. Back here just a little more too. And then that's the same dark that's there. So as it comes around into the light, I'm going to wipe off some of my brush and just lighten my pressure. And by using a horizontal brush stroke here, it'll create the illusion of a tabletop. Like that. But this book here has a shadow. And this one has just a little bit. Alright, so let's drag that down. Like that, and then as it moves towards the light, my pressure on the brush is going to be less and less. And I'm going to let just the ground of the canvas show through there, because that's about as light as that should go, maybe even a little bit lighter once I get the paint going on that. Okay, so that's fine. I don't want that to be too eye-catching and eye-grabbing, so we're just going to let that sort of hide back there. And bring this down to the shell, because that shell needs a strong background back there. I am going to take, I have a bigger brush down here, just a big flat 2-inch. Speaking of Bob Ross. And I just wanted to get rid of some of my brush strokes in here because they're kind of creating a glare problem. I'm not going to do this over the whole painting, but just a little bit in some of these passages where there's a lot of distraction. It doesn't mean it's going to stay like that, but there's that. Okay, now to get going on this, I'm going to start with the most temporal thing first, because the thing that's most likely to die in the still life would be the flowers. I always try to do that. That's my first rule of thumb when I start any kind of still life, because I may have a fish. I've painted raw fish, and I always want to start with things that are going to be needing upkeep first. That way, if they die, then it doesn't matter. I can get on with the rest of it. Okay, so what I'm doing here now for the flowers is I'm starting out with the darker mixture of burnt sienna, yellow ochre, and some white. Just a little bit, just like that. Might even take a little bit of the linseed oil because I want it a little bit thinner. And I'm going to come up here now and just kind of loosely scumble this in. By scumble, I mean when you take and hold the brush on its side and you lightly, very lightly, just sort of kind of glaze it like that. Okay, and I'm going to do that to this one too. And I don't mind if I do it over the whole thing, because I'll come back over it with some brighter color. And I will also work on the petals by carving those in by using the background. So I will be revisiting this background a little bit more here soon, later, whatever. Okay, so taking some cad yellow with the white, make that a little bit creamier color. Now I'm going to pop in, squinting down at those flowers, just where I see some of this background color. No real detail information quite yet. And I'm paying attention to where the middle of the flower has its center thing there. And then over here, I've got some brighter pieces, because this is just really getting that full hit of the light. And then down here, I want some more reds in that. A little bit of cad red in there. Let's get going with that. And just a soft bit of pink over here. Like that. Now, if you notice, I'm not blending. I'm just holding my brush very loosely and just letting it sort of play and dance in and around those other colors. Grabbing some more white. And painting those colors together like that. Now I'm going to come back up in here, and I'm going to start paying attention to some of these petals by just touch and pull. Just a touch and pull. Right down, like that. Come back up in here. I need a smaller brush. So I'm thinking about where I want the eye to travel in this painting. And I want it to come up this way and to just play around these flowers. And let that be pretty much it. Nothing overcomplicated here. Just a really simple journey. Getting a little bit more of those colors that are in the shadows there. I think we need a few bigger petals in there, a little bit bigger ones. Now remember, I'm going to give away this painting to someone who comments. Sorry, I'm losing my I'm losing my speech. It happens, it happens. All right, coming over here. just a few of these little things like that. Okay, that's about all that those need. They don't really need a whole lot of fussing. I don't want to get too fussy with them. Now that just a little bit on the inside of the flower itself. Right in here. And that can just pretty much stay like that middle thing. We really don't see much on that flower, so that's fine. Okay, let's move on. So those are okay. I will maybe add a little bit more glow to that passage in there, but for now I'm going to clean this brush off because I'm really liking it. It's working. And then I just want to get some of these stems in place. Yellow ochre, cad yellow, and I think that's blue. They're really very much in shadow, so I'm not going to call a lot of attention to them either. Just keeping that pretty simple. And then well, I'll put a few stems down in the basket. Okay, next. Okay, so I think that value there sets the tone for the painting. I'm also going to now get into this shell because once you have your dark established, you want to start establishing your extremes, which of course the dark is the darkest. I want to get my lights now in place. And those flowers were temporal, so I had to start with them. But I believe that the shell would be the next stop. So I have some white here. I have some white and a little bit of cad yellow, and let's grab some of that red, if you can see that. Just a really soft peach down here. And I'm just looking at the shape, just this whole basic shape for the shell. And some of these passages have a little bit grayish green, tan look. So I'm just kind of mixing up a whole little stockpile of paints in this area. So I've got some grays, tan, taupes. I think that's going to be good to have that sort of collection of piles as I go through here. Let's wipe, wipe, wipe. Scoop. Synthetic flat for the shell. This is a blend, actually. This is a mix of synthetic and bristle, and I think it was a flat at one time. It's become a filbert. To answer your question, where am I? Okay. This is just a sort of a softer cream. It's not as bright as I'm going to get the shell. I want to try to get that, allowing my brush stroke to show the form. So this part of the shell is curling at us, and so I'm using this like that to get that effect. That's fine for a middle tone, and I know I'm going to be making that stronger here soon. Let's get some more ochre and sienna, because there's this really pretty tan color on top of the shell. And so let's just suggest that as it comes up. Like that. A little bit of that down there. Now I've got a strong shadow under this part here. And I just did one of this darker gray that I had mixed up for that. And I see that also up here. And that's what I'll do to create a sense of unity. So I'll just kind of jump around. And that's okay to do that. All right, and then now I've got this transparent look where the light is shining through the shell and it has this glow. Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate that. Um, so yeah, cad yellow to make something look transparent. Just add a little bit of cadmium to it. I'm going to take some burnt sienna into that. Let's see if we can make that effect happen. Yeah, that kind of works. But it works too because you have to have the contrast. So in this case I have this stronger opaque shadow next to that, making it look, you know, quite a bit different than what's going on around it. So I'll do that. I want to get a little brush and just pop in the small, crisp, sharp edge. I know it's probably going to be a little bit hard for you to see on there, but hopefully you're watching it on a really big screen. and you can see. And this will give us that sharp, remember a sharp edge will convey a feeling of flatness. And so that's okay on this crisp edge of this shell because we want that to feel flat and sharp there. Kind of let some of those up inside there. And then I'm going to come back through here while I have this little brush and just paint in some of this lighter, creamier color that got somewhat lost when I laid down the middle tone for this shell. And the contours inside a shell as it turns and curves are just absolutely fabulous. And so they are a study in and of themselves, and I really don't want to get too involved in that in this still life video, since I really just want to focus on how to start a still life and put that information. I am just working on some of these different little up in here. That's what those technical names are for that. For sure. If you don't know, at least try to sound like maybe you do. We're just bringing some of this shadow down into that. And then that. Always looking back at my still life, just for reference, because we forget. We forget many times, and so many times in classes I teach, I see people not referring back to their still life. And I wonder how they're doing it. So you can only retain the image that you see for really just a very, very brief time. You have to be referring back to your subject. Okay, now inside this shell, I just want to not make it quite so cavernous, so I'm going to lighten that up a little bit. And then soften this edge here. By softening that edge, it'll make it feel like it curves and goes around inside the shell. And again over here, I really just want to soften this edge. It'll make it feel like it's a little more lit and round. Okay, that works like that. So feel free to share this video. I encourage you to do that. And that makes me really glad when people do that. I think that's awesome. And I'm excited to give you guys 2 weeks to comment on this video. And then within that time, I will be printing out names and draw one winner. Okay, so that is looking better. Okay. All right, I will come back through here then and soften these once I get the ground there for that. Okay, now let's get some of these books in, and I'm using a little bit bigger brush for that. So these books are pretty much in shade. Nervous making mistakes? No. Thank you for that question. No, I've been doing these videos now for 3 years. 3? But, well, 2.5 years. And I really enjoy it. At first it did make me nervous. And then my videos were very quiet. I didn't think I was doing very much talking. I've been a teacher for nearly 24 years. So to step into doing videos was, it seemed a very natural thing for me. What made me really nervous was the first time I did Facebook Live. Like no one was there. And, you know, it's like you're just kind of talking into space. But now I don't care, and I just do it, and I've been doing it for years, and I really like it. And in between Facebook and YouTube, I've developed quite a bunch of people who have become wonderful friends, and gotten to know them, and I've been able to meet some, and I wouldn't have changed what I have done here for anything, and I just love it. And the letters I get from people whose lives are changed because of what they've learned, that's what amazes me most of all. It's just truly incredible. You know, we're all in this journey together, and no one person has all the answers, and we're all learning and growing together. Especially as an artist, I think that there's such a wonderful sense of community among artists, and I find that truly special, because we appreciate different things in life that a lot of people don't seem to notice, or whatever. We're a different breed, aren't we? So I do love this. And as far as what I'm doing, talking about what I'm doing, I've actually been described as being left and right brain dominant, and so this isn't too much of a challenge. Too much. Sometimes I lose my speech, but being able to talk about what I'm doing while painting is always kind of an exciting thing. I enjoy it. I hope that answers your question, probably more than you wanted to know. Okay, so for the light in the book, that was just kind of a very cool green on top of the book, and it's very close to the background. I will be adding more separation as I get going on the background a little bit more, but I want to get the front of the book a little bit more lit, because I think that it needs that separation there. And then like that. Okay. I think I want a little bit of light up here, just so that it has that sense of movement. Light moves. Shadows hold, and light moves. Okay. All right, next book. Okay, so that's kind of like I said before, I wanted the contrast of the the different colors too. And so in this case, this is green, and my book underneath it is red. So I am using CAD red, but it's kind of a chalky, old, dusty red. So I'm adding some white, and there was some sort of blue, gray, green stuff underneath, a little white there. And we're going to just lay that down. And I think that that is satisfactory for that. So pieces of paint, little pieces like that. And I like this color too because it ties in the flowers and the shell too. Right, and then on the background back here, I'm taking some of that alizarin. Shadows are cool, and alizarin crimson is a very cool red. It's almost like a wine, but it works for a shadow back here. So under the shell, I'm going to use a little bit of that cooler red, just back there. I just want it to look like the shadow of that shell goes from the book, on up. Like that. And then over here on the surface there. So now I'm feeling like that shadow of the green is a little bit too dark, so let's just pop in some of that, a little bit like that. Okay, so getting this done. Okay, so now the pages over here are mostly just, I take yellow ochre and some of these colors that I have going on here, a little bit of blue-gray, and they're pretty dark too. So let's just paint that on. So just, you can just scumble it, and I just took a nice light swipe like that. And I'm going to do the same thing down here for this one. A little bit of blue. I want this one a little darker. I really don't want it to be drawing the eye even as much as it is. So let's just darken that a little bit. Like that, and then we'll just do that. Okay, and I think that that's pretty good for that. I'm gonna just darken the edge of this spine here because it needs to have the feeling that it is curved and going around. And then I will take a little bit of light in the middle here. Like that. Okay, now I'm gonna refine the shape over here because these books look a little bit off in that area. I'm anxious to do that little mouse. Almost done. Oh, and the marble too. Okay, so let's refine the shape here. Top line of the book. Cleaning that up. And then the curve of that comes in a little bit. So I'm just right on here with my brush, I'm going into that page color very lightly, picking it up and moving it just so that it has that continuity there. And then go right back into that shadow and kind of clean that up a little too. Like that. Clean that, clean that. And I'm going to soften this edge here so that it can kind of become one with that background back there. Like that. Okay, moving along. I'm going to grab some of this, almost like that lighter shell color, but with the dark that's already on my brush. If you notice, I didn't clean it. I'm going to go right into here, and this is my tabletop. And this is getting what I call the hot spot, so let's make that a little bit brighter. Cad yellow, little white, yellow ochre. Just lay some of that on there and let it mix with what's already there. That gives it more of a spotlight feel. I'm just kind of let that help lead the eye in. So we'll just loosely scumble what's going on over here. Okay, so that's feeling a little bit more like, see how that now feels like the surface of the table? Let's kind of watch this edge over here. Okay, now I'm going to do a little bit of that, but just a little darker back here to kind of clean up some of this passage here. Again, remember the light is coming through here and hitting this background. So I love backgrounds, and I take my brush and I will lay it this way and that way just to give it a little bit of that scumble quality. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Remember I said I was going to do that here. And I'm grabbing some of the petals as I'm working on this and allowing some of that paint to mix with that background, and it gives it a sense of energy and vitality by letting it just sort of glow. But you got to wipe your brush off every now and then so that it doesn't get muddy on you, because you can quickly, your colors can get intermingled and start to mix too much, and then you lose that clarity. All right, so let's do that again over here. Just like that. Just like Bob Ross says, it helps if you do the sound effects. At least I think that's what he says. Maybe it's what I get when I'm listening ASMR. There. Okay. That looks fine. I hope it's not too distracting. Maybe I'll live with it a little bit. I do have 2 weeks before I send it off to one of you people. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is work on that little mouse, and I'm going to do that with 3 colors. When I do any metals, I always mix it up in little piles of 3. So I'm looking for a little bit smaller brush over here, and because I want to be able to control what I'm doing. So that's too small. I feel like Goldilocks over here. This brush is too big. This brush is too hard. This brush is too small. I think that one's okay. Let's try that one. Okay, so I'm going to mix up 3 different puddles. Now to get a dark gold, I'm going to start with basically my dark, burnt sienna and ultramarine blue, and I'll paint those together. And I can add a little bit of yellow ochre to that. That'll be my dark gold. The next thing I want to do is mix up my gold that's the medium color, and of course I'm going to use a little bit more yellow ochre, and there is some color underneath there. I don't mind that there's a little bit of gray peeking through, but let's grab some burnt sienna like that, and I just paint the colors. I may not use the entire bit that I grabbed for that color, but I think that's fine. Twirl the brush off, clean it. Now I'm going to grab some yellow, cad yellow, and where am I on here? And a little bit of yellow ochre. And this is my light area. I may actually take a little bit of white, but that's not a very shiny little mouse, so that's fine. So I'm going to take the dark now, wiped my brush off, and just going to come in here and work on defining the shape a little bit better, because he's kind of vague here. And I'm not worried about all the detail and information I see in the darks. I'm just squinting down to get the basic shape of where I see these exact pieces going. Again, letting my brush define the form. And then the back of his backpack thing. And so far, all I'm doing off camera here down below is just picking up the different piles that I mixed. So right here is just the dark that I mixed. And you see how nicely that contrasts with the background? I think that that is kind of a cool effect to show that. And I do have a white paper towel in this little basket, keeping those flowers fresh. So I'm not going to paint that in, so I'm just going to add a little bit of that background color in here just to help soften some of that. Maybe I'll put the stems down in the basket. Okay, now I'm going right into my medium bronze mixture. And I'm going to paint this where I see any of that medium bronze color. And I'm starting with the basket here. Oops, too dark. This is how I keep painting metals, very simple. It wouldn't matter if this was a copper pot or a silver dish or anything. You just look for ways to simplify. And I'm squinting down at it. I'm going to paint most of his little head here in middle tone. And his little arm is reached way up, so that's just kind of middle tone too. And the front of his thigh. He's got his chubby little hips here. Oh, I didn't do the dark on his tail. Okay, gonna grab that dark. Just like that. Okay, now back to that middle tone. The front of his tail. I'll do the highlight later. There's that middle tone color. And then it's about down his belly, down his leg. The other leg is back behind him because he's stepping back with it. All right, so now I'm wiped my brush off and I'm gonna go into this lighter bronze color here. I say bronze, I guess I mean brass. And then down under his chest. And let that blend just a little bit. Down the front of his arm. And down his leg. The back leg. And then the front of the tail, just a little bit. Okay, now you can always I'm just adding a little bit of white to this yellow mixture and just a few places where it needs a little bit of a highlight, like on his eye, under his chin, little highlight places. And right here and here. And there's a little right there. And then a few spots on his basket. And I think that that's probably doesn't need much more than that in that area. Okay. Now I'm just going to wipe my brush off really, really well. And kind of just soften and blend a little bit some of these areas. His little ear is right there. Okay, like that. All right. Now, bringing this book green color around, and because there were gaps where I had not painted it because I didn't want to lose the little mouse. Okay, now the marble, and then we're done. I love painting marbles because they're just so fascinating. So I'm going to take some of this blue and let some of that gray mixture just sort of mix in and around that. And I'm going to paint the darks where I see them. And this is a little bit light on top of the marble. So trying to keep it in clean swipes like that. And then I'm going to use ultramarine blue and a little bit of phthalo green and some white for that middle swirly thing in the middle. That gives me kind of a turquoise color. So I'm just going to not worry about the different value changes that I see in there at this point. Now I will. There's a little dark in the middle. Okay, and let's bring that up. Just going to clean up the shape a little. And there's a light, shiny shadow behind it because the light's shining through it. And that's hitting the table behind the book, or hitting the book. Right there. And then you can really make your marble look like glass, but with that little shine. Let's clean that up. Here we go. And then you'll want to take a little bit of white with that light color right there, and we're just going to go right down here. And that gives it the sense of the light shining through there. I'm just going to go a little bit back there too. Okay, so now we just kind of scan the whole thing and look to see what may need a little bit of finesse. Like maybe some of the background over here where the little mouse meets it. We didn't kind of clean that up very well. The basket, and soften some of those and flick some like that. It's kind of fun. And clean this up here. Underneath. And a little bit around the shell. So if you are just joining, comment, even if it's just with your name, and you will be entered to win this painting as a sign of my gratitude and appreciation for reaching 10,000 subscribers. I'm so excited about that. Feel free to share this video. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be announcing a winner. We're going to go on live and draw names of everybody who commented. This gives you 2 weeks to comment. Okay, that's as far as I'm going to take this demo. So let me move my camera back. Yeah. There is my still life again. So you can see that. I'll set my palette down. Whew. So let me turn this. All right, so thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed this, and it was a pleasure. I'm really excited and looking forward to getting back on YouTube more. Hopefully I can do them every week, and maybe live like this, may not be, but whatever the case, it's always a pleasure, and I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Don't forget to like and subscribe if this is the first time you've watched one of my videos. Hit that little bell to be notified when I put up a new video. I'm also going to add links down below to, I mentioned the new program that we're doing from mesas to mountaintops. It's a plein air video series that we're doing, 7 videos, and we always do a workbook with each of the videos, and that's with our company, Renaissance Creative Arts. And so there'll be links all down below, and we are giving away all kinds of special offers with that. All right, yes, 10,000 subscribers, so thank you so much, you guys, and really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you guys a whole bunch more. Okay, take care, bye-bye.